William Tyndale lived in the early part of the 16th century. His was the age of Henry VIII and his tragic Anne Boleyn, of Thomas More, and Martin Luther. It was against the law to have a vernacular scripture in England at the time. But they talk about the authority of the Pope and the authority of the authority of the Church over the Scriptures. And Tyndale, of course, was there, and he knew the Scriptures. He knew them much better than these guys did. Back in those days, many of the priests did not know Latin. They intoned the Mass in Latin, but they didn't even understand it. There was a law in the Church, or a doctrine in the Church, called in opere operato, which basically meant as long as you intoned it correctly, as long as you said the words correctly, then it was okay. Christ met in the midst of you. But they're sitting at this table, and this one priest is just having enough of this upstart young man who seems to know Scripture much more than they do. And he says, we would be better off without God's law than to be without the Pope's law. And Tyndale rose up, and with the greatest comeback of all time, he said, I defy the Pope, and if God grant me life, I will see that the boy driving the plow knows more of the Scripture than thou dost. And that's when it started. He was, of course, his priests, the grumbling priests, go back, and so after a while, it's just kind of a buzz between all of the English clerics that this guy's trouble. Think about this. You had never heard the Bible in your own language. As a matter of fact, in 1519, an entire family in the town of Coventry, England, were put to death. 6 people in this family were put to death because they had taught their children the Lord's Prayer in English. Now, here in our 21st century perspective, that's very hard to grasp, 500 years ago, that you could actually be put to death for such an offense. And so here Tyndale gives them not only an English Bible, but he ennobles the English tongue. He puts a nobility in the English language that had not been there before. All of a sudden, you have phrases introduced into the stream of the English language, phrases like, give us this day our daily bread, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. I'll do this because you can feel the beat behind it. Let not your hearts be troubled. Behold the Lamb. Let there be light. Tyndale did not waste words. Give us this day our daily bread is as complete a thread of text as you're going to find anywhere. It can't be topped. The Message, I think it was 2002 version of the Message. The Message is a paraphrase, and this is not a judgment, but to compare Tyndale with a modern translation, where Tyndale gave us the glorious, give us this day our daily bread. The Message prays, keep us alive with 3 square meals. Now, it represents 2 completely different ages. The Message represents an age, or reflects an age of information. Give me the data, I don't have time to sing. And I think as believers, we are denied something very precious there, because give us this day our daily bread allows the metaphor to remain open. Give us this day our daily bread may be your daily food substance. It might be your deep spiritual need. It might be some grief that you're struggling with that God can bring a comfort. And so that, the way Tyndale phrased that, he left it wide open. Tyndale set forth a sonic architecture that gave us our biblical sound. And because of the nobility he set forth in the language itself, it emancipated the English language. You can see the effect of Tyndale in Shakespeare, in John Milton, in Wordsworth, in Walt Whitman. And so Tyndale, and I was, often you write a book to discover a subject or to seek out a subject or to learn much about it. And me, as a literary person, as a Bible, as an amateur Bible scholar maybe, or one who really loves seeking the lower depths of the Bible, I was totally unaware of his incredible, immense contribution to my life as a believer and as a literary person. And among scholars, there's a phrase, without Tyndale, no Shakespeare.